Big Northern Bear, I'm going to tell you why. One reason you're afraid to live your life now that you have AFib. So bear with me, I have to tell you a little bit of a story first. But the first time I had AFib, I had been in the gym and I'd done a good powerlifting workout, and it was Friday night and my wife was out of town for the night and the kids were sleeping over somewhere, so I just had the whole house to myself. So I'd done a really good workout and I stopped at this new pizza place. Everyone said it was amazing. Got myself a small pizza and took it home, and I ate the small pizza and I had 2 shots of rye, and now legal in Canada was cannabis, so I had a little bit of cannabis oil and I was turning on a movie, and I was just ready for a nice relaxed night after a good heavy workout. It was, for me, the perfect Friday. So I got tired. I fell asleep about an hour later and I woke up shortly after. My heart was going nuts. I couldn't climb up a stair, could barely breathe. Called 911, caught it all on my Ring doorbell when they showed up. Maybe I'll share a little bit of that one day, I don't know about it. But, my poor wife, her Ring a doorbell alarm on her phone kept going off. She looks, she sees me coming out on a stretcher from our house, and she's out of town, right? So I go to the hospital, and this is like wave 1 of the pandemic. Like, it's just a crazy time for anything to happen. So I get to the hospital and they rush me in, and I thought I was having a heart attack. I really did. I thought, oh my God, this is it. Even the conversation between the paramedic on the phone with the doctor on the way over had me scared, because my first career, I was a registered practical nurse, so I know what they mean when they say, do we have orders to call a code if we need to? Like, I know that means, hey, they think that I might, not make it to the hospital. They might have to jumpstart me. So I knew what that conversation was all about, because I'd been there as a nurse. So get to the hospital, and in the ambulance they said, you're an AFib. Yeah, we don't know the cause, and they weren't going to tell me not to worry, so that didn't help. I went to the hospital, and it's like, oh look, we got a new AFibber. For them it was all very routine, but for me it was really scary. Friendliest doctors, friendliest nurses, no problem there. So everyone was really professional and good. Explained to me what was going to happen, that they were going to shock me. So they were going to basically give me some medication, which is like a general anesthetic that lasts about 2 minutes, and then, try to convert me over back to normal rhythm using the electrocardioversion, or, the paddles, and they shock you. So I wanted to call my wife first, because I just in my mind I was like, oh my God, what if I don't wake up after they give me this anesthetic? Like, I really thought this might be it. I really genuinely believe that. And I think if the first time you've had to be paddled, you probably had that thought through your head, and that's a pretty terrifying thought and a terrifying moment. And it's like, oh, there's no time to call your wife. I'm like, wow, how big an emergency is this? I can't even just call my wife for a minute. So they put me under, and I come to, and when I came to, it was like smack. It's like someone hit me in the chest with a hammer. And I open my eyes and I look into the eyes. Did you just punch me? He said, oh, you felt that. You felt the last one. I said, the last one? What do you mean? And I didn't even realize that they had already put me under. But I felt the last shock to my chest. And the cardio version, it didn't work, actually. They shocked me 3 times, the 3rd time with a lot of force, and it didn't work, so they ended up hanging an IV bag. And so I'm waiting for that to go off, and finally my wife had come back. She was about an hour and 20 minutes away, so she came back and they let her in to sit with me. It was just at the start of the pandemic. They hadn't gone crazy about not letting people in and that sort of stuff. It was mostly just this stuff's happening in China at that time. So it hadn't gone crazy yet. And so she sat with me, and then about an hour after she got there, I started flipping back to sinus rhythm and intermittently, and I got back to sinus rhythm, and then, hey, okay, great, you're in sinus rhythm. Now here's 300 milligrams of metoprolol every single day and a blood thinner, and you have new life rules. And they read out all these new life rules to me, and they sent me on my way and went home. So, and then a week later, essentially went through all of that again. A couple more times, total of 5 times really. So the thought occurred to me, you know, why did I spend a year like just not doing what I knew I needed to do to lose the weight in terms of, I mean, eating's one thing, I'm a stress eater, but the exercise, and I was just afraid to push myself in any way. I did go to the gym once and try to weight lift, and I ended up with probably about 20 seconds of AFib that went on its own, and that really freaked me out. I was going for walks. I started doing walks, but anytime my heart rate got up, let's say over 105 beats a minute, like walking up a hill or something, I mean, I was 326 pounds. I mean, I would feel like, you know, the intermittent beats, or I'd feel a pounding, and it would freak me out. So just thinking about it, and now, and all the workouts I'm doing, and all the weight I've lost, and the kind of hard, really hard workouts that I'll do hard intervals and that. And I've just thought about this a long time, about, you know, why not just me, but so many people in the various support groups online for AFib, they seem so reluctant to live their life. They're frightened, and I understand that. They're afraid you have this jack in the box for a heart that could go off randomly at any time, for anything you do, whether you have stress, or maybe you have a glass of wine, or you have too big a meal, or you get gas, or you strain when you're on the toilet, whatever it is, could set this thing off. Like, you're still trying to figure out your triggers, because you have triggers now, and I mean real triggers that mess with your heart. So why are we afraid to live our lives when 98% of the time the stuff we don't want to do would have been just fine if we had done it? And this is the conclusion I've come to. Yeah, I want you to think about the World War II movies where you had this guy come home from the war and he's shell-shocked, right? So because he was in an environment where just out of nowhere a sniper could take a shot at you or a bomb could go off. Well, isn't that what it's like with AFib? So what you went through in the hospital, your first couple of times through the hospital, through Emerge, having your first AFib attack, not knowing what it was it a heart attack? Is your life in danger? Is this it? Are you saying goodbye to your family? All of that was trauma. And you're living in fear right now because you have post-traumatic stress disorder. You might have a mild version, might have a moderate, you might have a severe version, but you have a form of post-traumatic stress disorder. I can almost guarantee it. And when I recognized that in myself, I started doing cognitive behavior therapy, and it helped me immensely. And that's one of the reasons why I can fearlessly work out now and fearlessly do some of the stuff I can do. I can go camping in the woods alone. A year and a half ago, I probably wouldn't do that. I would bring a friend or family. I was afraid to go alone, and if I went alone, I made sure I was somewhere where I had cellular range. Now I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, and it's to me, it's just, why has no one discussed this? You have a form of post-traumatic stress disorder. So if that's you, if you listen to this and a light bulb went off and going, oh my God, this guy might be right. I might have, mild or moderate or even severe post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm living with all this anxiety, every little ectopic beat, every little skip beat, which are perfectly benign, and probably just a side effect of the medication that you need. Sets you off, makes you worry, keeps you up at night. It's classic post-traumatic stress disorder. So I would just say face it, own it, treat it seriously, learn to deal with it. But I really think that a lot of us have a type of post-traumatic stress disorder because it was a very stressful thing. And, you know, I'm not someone who always handles stress so good to begin with. This was a scary thing. And I also want you to think about your spouse. They probably share some of this anxiety, and they're also going to take their cue from you because they can't understand what it's like. You know, they can go one of two ways, right? Like they can see you're so skittish and nervous, and they don't understand what's the big deal. Where's this going to happen? You might go in and get cardioverted. You'll probably be okay. Or it might be the total other way, where they're even more worried and stressed out than you. So, and sometimes one approach disguises itself as the other approach because that's how people are wired. So, I mean, just consider your spouse in this too, because if you're going to do some work to heal this part of your psyche, you might want to involve your spouse in that, you know, and the people who care for you. You might want to consider them as well. So I would say that, you know, for me, this was a real light bulb moment when I thought, wow, what I'm actually dealing with is a trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's why I'm afraid to go live my life. So anyway, aside from that, now I'm outside the gym. I'm going to go into said gym and do something like, I don't know, probably stuff some doctor would tell me somewhere I shouldn't be doing. And I'm going to love it. And then I'm going to have a nice tan and sit in a massage chair, go buy some cashew milk, and go home. So everyone, Big Northern Bear here, signing off. Have a great evening.